One of the number of reasons I've been keeping up with you over the years because of your heart, not just your
Oh,
not just
thanks.
your filmmaking skills. But I have to say, Leeds is. I think it's no. I don't think I know. It's your strongest work.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I understand why Tribeca took it because it really there's some really great performances in this film.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I based the whole thing on. That is those are the cards that I built the house of cards on
Hmm.
because I went into making the movie with no script, the very tiniest bit of a budget to start with, no real idea of where it was going to go. It was really just like I wanted to make another movie. And I was like September of 2023, and I was like, I'm shooting in December. I don't know what it is, but I know that if I cast Heather, Kafka, and Justin Arnold, that I'd worked with before multiple times, each of them, that they, you know, whatever characters we came up with together, that they would be, you know, watchable for a whole movie. Like I knew that it's like, okay, at least that part of it I'm gonna have down. So
So for those who are listening, probably uh,
yeah.
it's Heather Kafka, who is an Austin-based actor.
Hmm.
Um, plays an acting teacher, somebody who kind of has had a difficult time figuring out how to transition out of being an actor for a living. And he's like most of the way there, but not not all the way there. Uh,
Yeah.
it's an interesting spot. But
Yeah.
she's moved into an age uh, where the ingenue thing isn't an option. So
Right.
um, and it's really something. But she's awfully talented at the same time, and she also just draws people to her and has all this charisma and beauty and yeah. So it's a it's Heather. So
It's what?
it's from what I could see, it's so Heather.
Yeah. I mean, we all of us were drawing on
Yeah.
our own lives, of course, and not just the three of us, but also the students as well. I packed the cast. Her acting class is made up of um, uh, Texas State students or graduates who I either had in my classes or I saw perform in other students' films.
Mhm.
So
There are the
of the
two.
eight student ensemble, three of them I kind of brought into the story development process as well. And
Wow.
so a lot of this stuff, details of their characters, conversations that they have with their teachers, whatever, I, just drew from interviews that I did with them or improvs that we did together. And so, yeah, it's like the movie is like autobiographical and for kind of for all of us. Um, but, it's all like enhanced, it's all like kind of
Yeah. Right.
twisting things, making things a little bit worse, a little bit more painful, a
Right.
little bit more like gut wrenching,
Sure.
Justin making his character a little bit goofier than he actually is, or a
Justin
bit more, a
is
bit more.
Heather Kafka's brother, Merritt,
Yeah,
who is a bit of a how'd you describe him? What's the right? Uh,
I say that he is a wayward soul
right.
who wants to try everything in the world.
Right. And is one of those people that thrives on just sort of distraction and
Yeah,
keeping distracted and right and busy and he's and wants to he also needs people
yeah,
needs to
that
be
he's
loved.
yeah, and he's had a blue collar life,
Mhm.
but he strives for creative
Right.
fulfillment as well. That's sort of like what he's coming around to, which is why it was so fun to kind of like play with
Yeah.
um, that collision, you know, of his like, you know, he's had six different jobs in the last year, and probably three of them are bullshit, you know, that he's made up, and that like having that energy and that sort of background collide with his sister, who's kind of over him for sure, but then also these students who are kind of like don't really know what to make of him. And yeah, it was just such a blast.
But he's
Kind of
not an
like
asshole. That's the thing. Even though
he's what?
he's not at his heart. He's a well, at heart he's got heart.
Yeah.
He's thorough. He's really, he's was just a kind of like a puppy with love, and
Hmm.
even though he sort of screws up all the time, but he
Yeah.
he's a good soul. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think for with all the movies that I've made, I always like to think of the character, even when characters end up doing terrible things, it's like in their own mind, they're always trying to do the right thing,
sure,
whether it's for themselves or whether it's for the people in their lives. And
right.
so they end up, you know, screwing up or, you know, doing things that hurt other people, but their heart is always in the right place.
Yeah,
Um,
we know
and
people.
I think
Yeah,
that's what, you know, that's what I find funny and interesting, and you know, emotionally allows me to connect emotionally with the characters, which is
right.
important, of course.
Well, it's amazing. So tell me, like, I want to get to other cast members and other things later, but
Yeah.
I want to know. I love that in a way that you just sort of came out of the pandemic, probably with
Hmm.
itching to shoot, right? As we all came out of the pandemic, just dying to get
Yeah.
back into the things we're most passionate about and that we were deprived of. And
Hmm.
and obviously Heather and um, Heather and
Justin.
Justin Arnold, right? Justin
Hmm.
were game. And so what were those first conversations, and what were those
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, like
build on this?
I,
How did you make it create this
yeah,
story, such realized characters?
I mean, I had, you know, the last feature I directed was called Love and Air Sex. It was originally called The Bounce Back when we shot it, and
Oh
I played
wow.
at South by in 2013. And that was a super fun experience. And it was like, you know, a step up for me. It was like a budget that was significantly higher than anything that I had before. Got to work with some, you know, really talented actors, you know, who had some name and face recognition and were really awesome. And so then I, you know, since then I've been trying to like write other scripts that were a bit bigger in scope, but bigger in budget, maybe had like genre elements that would make them more palatable to production companies, and you know, had some good meetings, had some momentum coming along at certain points, but it just, I don't know, it just like didn't ever work out. And so in the interim, you know, I made short films and I directed a pilot for Comedy Central and wrote an episode for HBO and for this HBO series, and you know, but it was like I just kind of felt like the long form creative like commitment that it takes to make a feature film, I just was craving. You know, I'd done it three times, and every time it totally took over my life in the best way. You know, and I just knew that that was something that I was not going to be kind of satisfied unless I could scratch that itch. And so I basically just went back to the model that I used for my first and second features, which was write a story around available resources.
Mhm.
And I did actually. I wrote a script that I imagined I would shoot at Texas State, where I've been teaching for 10 plus years. We had a sound stage. It was a location where I thought I could build sets. That's what we were going to need to do for this movie. And I was kind of gearing up to try to figure out a way to make it. Of course, needed money and like applied to a couple grants and a couple things and didn't get them, and then just got really frustrated that I was just like, okay, I just have to go back to making something smaller. And I had gotten this unexpected windfall from my friends, the Duplass brothers, because they had hired me to write an episode of Room 104, the HBO
Right.
series, anthology series that they did. And testament to me like not reading contracts well enough because they're my friends, and I didn't realize that they actually cut myself and all the other writers and directors into the sort of ownership of the show. Like I got a small slice, and they actually financed that show and licensed it to HBO. So HBO did not pay for that show. They did. And then HBO licenses it for a period of years. And so they relicensed it because it ended after the fourth season. That's where the episode that I wrote was in. And so then basically because they relicensed it, I ended up getting a check that I did not expect. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, I can use this check. Thank you, Duplass Brothers. I can use this check to like pay down some debts, or I can say this is a down payment on a new film,
Yeah.
on a new feature.
Wow.
And that
Wow.
was like in July or August of 2023. And then in September, after I didn't get this grant for this other movie that I had written a script for and done like a reading for and was like, oh, excited to do, I was like, what do I have to complain about? Like, I have access to tons of equipment in Texas State that we just bought. Like, we have an Arri Alexa, we have all these cameras, all this great lighting equipment that my colleagues had, sort of set up there. I have all these great students.
Mhm.
I have locations. If I shoot during my winter break, they'll be free because there's nobody going to be on campus. I can shoot wherever I want. Why don't I just set a movie on campus and that's the location, And so I was like, okay, so somebody's got to be a professor or something. And I had first originally thought about Heather and Justin because I've worked with them before, and I was like, oh, should they be like lovers or something? And I was like, I don't know, that's not that interesting. What about a brother and sister? Because I love sibling movies. I love brother and sister movies. I have a sister.
Mhm.
There's not that many great ones, or there's just not that many,
Many movies
period.
about brothers and sisters, not many great sisters. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like The Savages is an amazing one,
Oh yeah, there's plenty.
which was a touchstone. You Can Count on Me is also an amazing one, very much a touchstone for this movie.
Oh,
So
there's
yeah, so what's that?
yeah, Skeleton. Wasn't there? Was that
Yeah, the Skeleton Twins. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Another.
doing it to more of a micro budget, I guess,
Yeah,
indie kind of film. But and I'm sure there are lots of Hollywood classics.
yeah,
But yeah, no.
yeah.
Choice. Your instincts really all kicked in there, Brian.
I mean, it's what I try to teach my students. It's like no one has ever lived your life before, and no one ever will. So it's like using the unique aspects of your background and worlds that you know about and worlds that you have access to that other people won't. Like use that as like the raw material, because it's like it's going to allow you to just make it easier to make the movie. It's like if your mom owns a quilting shop, it's like set a story in a quilting shop or part of it at least, because it's like you can shoot there for free and then you can have all this production value.
And
um,
quilts, they're right there. Um, but,
yeah,
but yeah. I mean, if people talk about like how don't let anybody else tell you not to make a film, But
yeah.
you're a living example, living proof that that it can be done. I mean, okay, so here's what you have to do if you're
Mm.
listening. You're a young filmmaker and you don't have any resources. First,
Hmm.
shoot an episode of Room 104 for the Duplex. Now, next,
Which is no longer on the air. So
no longer on the air, so I
yeah,
can't feed them everything. They have
yeah.
to do some of the work, but yeah, no, it's like back in the 70s with Steve Martin that I can tell you how to become a million. First, get $1 million. Now, and
Exactly.
but look, yeah, so there was that serendipitous moment, but still in
Hmm.
all, it wasn't like life-changing money, right? That's why you
No, no. It was
didn't
it was it was like it basically was enough for us to. It was like, okay, I know I can pay for like 4 days of shooting with
Mhm.
this.
Well,
If the budget is really, really low. If we
How
pay
many?
everyone
Listen, how many
a
days?
very low flat rate,
Right.
that's like I kind of have enough to get us through the first week-ish of production,
Yeah.
which meant that I had to find the rest. And so I just started. Well, I actually worked with the Austin Film Society. We used their fiscal sponsorship, which is basically where we use their nonprofit status to raise money. So technically, the movie is a nonprofit film, in the sense that it was all funded by donations. I mean, essentially like a crowdfunded movie, but people all got tax breaks for giving money to AFS, and then they gave us.
Nice.
So yeah, so that process. So the other part of my engineering mind taking over and trying to figure out how to make this is that I kind of figured out that okay, we're going to shoot the bulk of it during my winter break, so we have to raise enough money to get through 10 or 11 days of production, and then the rest of the days of production we can spread out through the rest of the month, or sorry, through the rest of the spring semester. Um, and then because we're pushing those further out, we don't have to raise all the money immediately. And we, and so there were like certain sequences and locations where it's like, because most of the movie takes place in this house and on campus. There's a couple other extra locations.
I know that it was
Um,
your actual office because of
yes, we
hey,
never actually shot in the office.
because of a
We
lover,
never. This is the
lover
one room because this was the
poster.
this is the equipment room. So we
But
never
you're
actually. This is the
when
one house.
yeah, I'm sorry, but when there's this shot of the poster for Lovers of Hate,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and I said, oh, that's Brian's office.
yeah. That is my office at Texas State. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
all that stuff is still there. Um, but yeah. So I kind of like yeah, figured out the fundraising part of it that way, where it's like okay, we don't need to have all of the money for production immediately. And we just there have been very lovely people who have supported my previous short films, and a couple people who kind of came out of nowhere who supported. So like here's another example for your film making young filmmaking uh, uh, listenership.
Uh-huh.
So the short film that I made before this is called Don't You Go Nowhere. It played like 40 festivals. We did really good with it. And one of the very last festivals that it played was this festival in Austin called the Austin Shorts Showcase, or ATX Shorts Showcase, where they do like monthly screenings. And they get good crowds, and it's mostly local people who worked on the movies or are friends of people who worked on the movies. But it's a really wonderful showcase, and some of my students who had movies play there, and it's great. And so um, so my film won the monthly screening, and this guy came up to me and congratulated me, and we chatted briefly. And then I saw he like started following me on social media after that. Didn't think much of it, and then when I announced in December of 2023 that I was going to make this feature, he reached out and said, "Hey, I'd love to help out." And I thought that meant that he wanted to be on the crew, because a number of people had reached out, and so I kind of didn't reply immediately. And then a few weeks later into shooting, I posted again, like, we're raising money. And then he reached out and was like, hey, I'd actually love to contribute money to the movie. And so he ended up becoming like the biggest donor to the movie. Like one of our three executive producers, like who put up like probably like about 20% of the budget, and he was just some dude that I met at a festival, like, and you know, he didn't put on any airs of like he's like was doing that, and now he's kind of become a patron and has been supporting a lot of independent filmmakers in Austin. So the bottom line for your, filmmaker listenership is like there's no such thing as a tiny film festival or a festival
Right.
that's not worth going to, because you have no idea who's in the audience, and you have no idea what kind of relationship it could lead to by just being there. Like
Right.
if I had not been
And
there, I don't think we would have met or talked, and he maybe never would have reached out to me twice.
mhm.
So
Improvisation. Say yes.
yeah, exactly.
And what? And what is it? Yes.
Yes, and.
I found
Yes, and
because no, it's a kind of a true thing. I've kind of learned this very late in life. It's just like just be you, the kind of the happy, open, you know, um, because and with everybody,
yeah,
everybody you meet, you don't know, don't judge anybody, don't just assume
yeah,
everybody is just really great, a great person with nothing but the best intentions. Be open to it, and
yeah.
I think because you could have screwed that up pretty bad, but fortunately,
I
this
mean, I actually did. I
yeah,
did screw
they
it
gave
up
you a second shot.
initially.
He's a good guy. Yeah,
Yeah, it's only because he,
see, you got
was
money.
genuinely like wanting to be get connected and help out, So
You got money, and you learned a very important lesson, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Um, so talk a little bit about, just a little bit, at least about the creative process of what took place those early meetings with Heather, with Justin. I'm not
yeah,
anybody else was in there.
yeah. So the
And
three,
kind of spitballing and all that.
yeah. So but basically, like, I mean, Justin was totally on board from the get-go. He's like, yeah, fuck it, let's make a movie. Come on, let's do it. Heather was a little bit more reticent because, I mean, like she had literally just gotten a job, like a kind of, you know, uh, wa- you know, like hourly wage job, like working at a warehouse, like right when I asked her about this project, and because she was just kind of like, I need. Her husband works, and she works too, like in her mom's salon, and then it had closed down because of the pandemic, I think, and so she was like, okay, I just got to find something. And so when I was like, hey, can we somehow figure out times where you and me and Justin could get together at my house and also with my daughter sometimes, and we'll like improv out these scenes and we'll talk about childhoods and we'll come up with these backstories for these characters. And she's like, yeah, I kind of have to work. So, so she was like, I don't know. But the more like after we had one meeting where it's just the three of us just sort of talking about like, you know, what can we do with these characters that definitely is coming from us, but that is also like is going to be enjoyable and interesting to create together. And and because it's like Justin has siblings, I have a sister, Heather has a brother, and so we really wanted to like think about that. So yeah, so I mean the first meeting was just talking about backgrounds and me like literally like transcribing what we were talking about, just like typing in my notes app, like all this, stories we were telling about other people that we knew or personal stories. And then we started doing these rehearsals where, yeah, I would like get the two of them together. I would have them like improv out a scene that I thought maybe was going to be in the movie, and I would film it with one of the cameras that we were going to actually shoot the movie with, that I could get from the school. Um, or we would improv out scenes that were not going to be in the movie, but stuff that like had happened between the two of them like years and years ago. And then I would film those too. Have my daughter, who plays, Heather's daughter in the movie, have her there as well, do the same thing. And so a lot of the dialogue for the early scenes that we shot, and we shot the movie mostly in story order. So the first scenes that you see on the screen are kind of, for the most part, the first ones that we shot. A lot of the dialogue from those came from, those improvs. So I kind of would take the concepts and and then basically we kind of ran out of material that we had time to rehearse because we were shooting. But by that point, I kind of knew what the voices were of these characters. So it was the writing process was actually like really easy. So the movie is not really, in terms of what you see on screen being improvised, there's not that much of it. Most of it was stuff that I wrote, but it was
Yeah,
improvised at one time by them.
doesn't
So it's kind
surprise
of
me.
like a
Great process.
like the Mike Lee does things kind of that way. So he was definitely like, I was reading books and interviews with him and trying to figure out his process. He has a lot more time. We had about
It
about
is a
two
long
months to do
gestation
this.
period, right?
yeah, and Cassavetes did it kind of like that too. But I also was trying to, at a certain point, I was not trying to be precious about it. Be like, we're doing whatever works. We're doing whatever I have time for. Um, so yeah, but it was, and then with the students, there were 3 out of the 8 students I basically like did kind of extensive interviews with, especially asking them about their relationships with teachers and with school and with like their careers and how they felt about what they were getting out of the experience.
Hmm.
And so it was Aaliyah Tardio who plays Alicia, the teacher
Yeah.
or the she has the moment with, and then Wade Smith who's the one that Justin crashes on their
Yes.
couch, and then Ethan Cruz, who's the tall guy, the beard, who
The one who
kind of
played,
is the kind of intense one.
yeah,
Yeah,
father of the scene with Justin as the
yeah,
son.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, Also in the film, in supporting roles, Macon Blair, who
yeah.
people might know from the Green Room,
Yes. Green Room, Blue Ruin, Oppenheimer.
right? Oppenheimer, yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's funny. I was thinking about him because he's done. He's been. I've known him for years too. But
yeah.
I knew his wife before I knew him because she
Oh,
was
Lee. Yeah. Oh,
because she
she's amazing.
yeah, Lee Eddy, because she worked at Brick, and
Hmm.
eventually, even after Lee left there, I would interview Lee and no, sorry, Macon and Jeremy
Right.
for a this morning show they were doing at Brick, their TV show, and I would
Oh,
do a bunch of like interviews with film people, blah blah blah. But I got to know Macon, and then I brought him on one other time. I can't remember for what, but and when I said Jeremy before, I meant Jeremy Saunier, the filmmaker, and then yeah, I love what I love to do is eventually is do something with some of the cast too, because it's just these guys are all kind of people I have a lot of affection,
yeah.
a lot of
Well,
affection.
well, the funny thing is that Macon I've known for 20 years, and
Wow.
Jeremy too,
Uh,
because when my first feature, Dear Pillow, played at Slam Dance in 2004, a short film they made that starred Macon called Crab Walk played right before it.
oh,
So I met those guys in January of 2020 of 2004, and that was the same year that Sean Baker had a feature in
yeah.
competition at Slam Dance 2, this one called Takeout. So it was like
What
all
happened
of
to that
us
guy?
just,
Whatever happened to Sean? Just
yeah,
kind of
I know.
disappeared
I,
off the
I
face of the
thought I
world.
thought maybe he had. It seemed like he had something going there for a bit.
Uh, Not
I think we'll hear more from that guy someday.
Monday. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. So making and I saw that short and thought he was awesome.
Mhm.
And then stayed friends with them over the years. And then yes, he started dating Lee. They moved to Austin.
Right.
Um, Lee, I've never actually directed her on screen, but she was actually part of the script reading that I did in the spring of 2023 that of the script that I wanted to do, you
Hmm.
know. Yeah, and so making like, he's busy trying to make another movie and was traveling and stuff, and so it was kind of a challenge to
Right.
to lock him down to dates. But so that sequence with him was one of the later ones that we did. So we shot the scene where
That was
he's on stage like during my winter break. That was actually the very last day. Like I think I started class like 2 days after that. Um, but then the scene of them in the hotel room, that was one of the ones that we had to shoot in late February because we just had to, it took us a while to raise the money and find a date that would work with everybody. So, but yeah, he was like, you know, I mean, that was one of the characters where I did not get to go through that process with him of like talking about who is this guy and blah blah. But I kind of feel like he kind of got who this guy was pretty easily, and
We've all
and
met that
just
guy, I guess.
yeah, yeah, and he just like really like understood the edge of like, okay, this guy's kind of charming and kind of cool. Like, why does everybody have such a problem with him?
Right.
But then there's that like little, glimmer
Sure.
of assholery there.
Well, a lot of people, no, they come across likable and smooth, and then turns out though it's more of a veneer. It's more of a costume,
Yeah, yeah. Where it's kind of like just like, I
maybe
think
passive aggressive.
what she realizes is that like, oh, this guy's just as scared as I am. This guy's just as completely insecure as I am. Why am I bothering doing this? You know? It's like he doesn't have anything over me, you know?
You're
He's too
also
scared. He's too scared to put himself out there or put
right.
himself on the line for
Sarah
anyone.
Paxton,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
kind of a clever use for her. I like that. That doesn't feel
yeah,
forced.
yeah. Well, that was one of the cool things was that her involvement was honestly one of the things, one of the outgrowths from the unusual way which made the movie where we shot it in order. Because she was not part of it. There's not supposed to be an actress or anything. It was just supposed to be making his character Taylor Betts, who was going to show up in, at the college town and then be gone. But as things were going, I realized that there was sort of like this like there was an opportunity to kind of like make it feel a little bit bigger and sort of like give Heather's character a bit more of an arc, a bit more of a payoff, So the whole idea of like her having tried to make this movie before with her infant child
Mhm.
and it not working out, that was also not part of the original plan. But because I did that, I tried to make a movie with Heather and my
Oh,
8-month-old child. Uh,
okay.
that literally had no script and no budget, so we shot for 2 days, and then I had to kind of abandon it because I was like, "What am I trying? This is insane. What am I trying to do?" Because I was a new father, and like, I just was like, "Here I
Well,
am at home.
new,
What if I
new
just made a
job.
movie with her? Wouldn't that be fun?" Um, so that footage in there is from a project, an abandoned project from 7 years ago, and that is Hazel. That is Hazel.
People.
Um,
Fine actor.
so yeah, so being able to kind of like pivot and like add stuff kind of made life difficult for the producer of the movie, Taylor, right, who was one of my former students, and difficult for me because it just meant like, okay, well,
Hmm.
if we shoot her on Zoom, if we shoot Sarah on Zoom for this one part, and I want to bring her back, it's only going to really work if we bring her back. And so then we had to like, raise more money so that we could actually fly somebody in and put them up and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So it meant that the epilogue, we didn't shoot that until August of last year. And that was the last thing we shot. And it was 6 months after we started shooting. So
Wow. Well,
yeah,
I'm so impressed that I mean, and as is the Tribeca Film Festival, that
yeah,
and I mean, it seems like whimsical approach almost, and like, okay, let's put on a show, but you guys kicked ass. I mean, I don't say that a
thank
lot.
you.
Like the Sisters Strong, they were really moved by Heather's performance in particular. It was nice
Yeah.
to see, it's nice to see friends in there. I haven't seen Heather in many, many years, but Chris Dubeck, of course, has a very
Oh, yes. Little,
well used, uh,
yeah.
and
Yeah, that's
uh-huh.
that's a deleted scene from Lovers of Hate.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's what you did. You didn't need him, so you didn't actually.
No,
Was it?
that is Heather and that is Heather and Chris
Oh my God,
in 2009.
amazing! Wow.
Yeah.
Um, and I just want to tell people the world premiere of Leads, directed, co-written, co-produced by Bryan Poyser. Right? Did I get it right? And
Hmm.
actually, you have a small role in it too.
I do. Yeah.
Colleague of Heather's, right? At the college.
Yeah.
Uh, Kind of playing yourself, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
the world premiere is Friday, June 6th at 5 o'clock at the Village East Cinema in New York City. Everybody's coming, right?
Yeah. 35 people from the movie are
I
coming.
read that. Big deal. It's a big time.
Yeah.
So you
I
know it's going
mean,
to be a packed theater, that's for sure.
yeah. I mean, hey, if they just bring like two people each, then
You're
we're
there. Oh,
packed to the
stop.
gills.
You'll get good turnouts. You also have three other screenings
Yes.
released. After that, people can go to Tribeca Film's website and search leads for all the details and buy tickets. But yeah, this was fantastic. I mean, I'm sure
Cool.
much more we could have talked about. But when I mean it, like I love the next. I love like for part two with even get Heather and Justin at the very least, if not Macon,
Sure.
figure it out. I think Macon. I think I have to look because I hope I didn't drop the ball. I think he's involved in another film that I think supposed to potentially get him on here.
Hmm.
Keep.
Well, he did the Toxic Avenger, which is I
Oh yeah,
think
that's
finally
the one.
coming
That
out.
was it.
Yeah,
That was it.
it's
Yeah, yeah. So I'm
yeah,
supposed to
it's
get him on for that. That's amazing. Um, I've met Toxie and I've been to his his father, his creator's home, and
mm,
I've been lucky to have some history with the Toxic Avenger. But that
yeah.
rebooting it seems like, right?
What's that?
It's like a reboot type thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. They shot it a while ago, and I think it premiered last year at Fantastic Fest. I did not get a chance to
Okay.
see it, but yeah, for some reason it just took a while. Yeah, but it's like Peter Dinklage's Toxie, I think.
Anyway,
So
we'll
should
see
be a
if
lot
that
of
works.
fun.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, cool. Well,
cool.
I'm not living in New York City, otherwise I would be there.
Mm,
I kind of moved out of the city a number of years back.
yeah. Where are you?
I can't even tell you.
Oh, no.
Just
It's an undisclosed location.
right. I'm in um, directly about 100 miles up the Hudson River
Okay,
in the Hudson Valley.
beautiful.
It's a really beautiful spot. And
Well, I grew up in a good chunk of my life, my childhood in Connecticut, not too far from
what
the Hudson
town?
Valley. I was in Danbury, Bethel, and then
Yeah.
also Bridgewater, which is in Litchfield County, a tiny little town.
Yeah.
But it was very, very close to the New York border, so we would go there. We'd
Well,
go to Brewster to get the train.
I work in a radio station in I'm trying to figure it in Red Hook, the one upstate, not the Brooklyn one,
Mm,
obviously, but the
right,
which is right between like Rhinebeck, if you've heard of that town, and
I
Hudson.
have.
Live right across the river from Hudson. But um, the radio station used to be located in Sharon,
Mm.
Connecticut. I don't know if you know where that is.
Okay,
Not really far,
heard of it? Yeah.
the northwestern area of Connecticut, very
Hmm.
not that far. And our tower is still there. But
Oh,
the
wow.
station itself, and we broadcast out of this place in Red Hook.
Okay.
That's where
Um,
I landed.
well, I imagine it's beautiful.
Yeah, we have this operation up here called Upstate Films, which is pretty great. There's a lot of film activity up here, and
Cool.
it would be great if at some point down the line you could show your film at Upstate Films. Would be a great place for you to show it, but
Sure.
place to get everybody from the cast from Texas.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, I mean, I am, yeah, there's uh, like Macon and Sarah are not going to be there because Sarah had a wedding and Macon's, I think, working on something. But nearly everyone else from like the main cast that has multiple scenes is coming,
That's great.
including Hazel, my daughter, pulling her up on stage for the Q&A for the premiere screening. I hope that's not a hope that's a solid gamble. I mean, she's adorable, so people are gonna be charmed
Oh,
by
it can
her.
only go well. It'll go fine. And she was very
Just
good. She's very good.
yeah,
I thought she
she's
was
yeah. She gets some of the biggest laughs in the movie.
true.
So
Yeah.
ready for that to
I'm
inflate her
sure
ego
Justin
too.
felt a little bit competitive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. But
Um,
they've known each other for years. That's part of the reason why it worked, because like
oh, okay.
it was already Uncle Justin, it's like no big deal. And Heather too. She'd known Heather since she was 8 months old. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's a family affair.
yeah,
Uh, Beautiful. Well, thanks for,
yeah.
I sent you that message kind of like half kidding, but I really wanted you on, but I was like,
Yeah, yeah. No, I
so
was
glad you responded.
happy to do it. Yeah.
It's
I
great.
didn't I did
Oh,
not
yes.
know that. I mean, that was the thing, is that like it's been 10 years since I've been in New York, and I kind of realized so many of my friends have moved, and then obviously some people that I sent that out to, they're like, yeah, I haven't been in New York in for years. I didn't know that you were one of them, but
Well,
that's also, it was kind of helping me kind of like update the address book too. So yeah.
right. And, I do get down there all the time. I mean, my son, who's now 21, uh,
Whoa.
yeah, he's in LA with his mom, who's an actor working on a series with Mark Duplass.
Oh, what series?
It's called The Morning Show. I'm sure you've heard of
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah.
She's on there. But anyway, she's also on a Netflix show that just started called Forever.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, she's very good in that. And so he's coming because he wants to get back. He was just in Brooklyn for hanging out with his friends, and then he's coming back to
Mm,
come out here for hopefully for a good chunk of the summer. And then he has to go to school in fall.
mm,
Anyway, um, but I get
yeah.
down. I was trying to say is I get down all the time. If I,
Yeah.
you I'm just like I said at the very beginning. So the station's going through a lot of transitions where I work,
Yeah.
and just right now the work is so demanding. I don't know how it'd get away. And I
Right.
am I'm going back to the Nantucket Film Festival for the second time.
Oh, cool.
I don't suppose you're showing it there. That's too bad.
I gave them the option. They
Oh,
did not take it.
they're unwise in that regard,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
because it's so well written. The
Yeah.
I'll tisk them, and but
Please do.
the one other
Let's
one.
twist the knife.
Do you have? I mean, okay, now we'll just say goodbye. Stay on though, because I'm going to ask
Mm,
you about a festival which you wouldn't be able to talk about. It's too far off.
mm,
You wouldn't be able to announce anything. And
right.
we shouldn't be talking about other festivals when we're talking about Tribeca anyway. So it's an enormous opportunity for you, and I only wish you good things with leads at Tribeca. I think
Thank you.
fantastic if something great happens there.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. All
Cool.
right. So thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. Always
Good
good
to
to
get
see you.
back. Stay where you are. I'm going
All
to
right.
turn off the recording.